All right, let's settle this once and for all. Should you be paying off your house early or should you be investing that money instead? On the one hand, owning your home outright sounds amazing. No mortgage, no monthly payments, which is almost total freedom. But what if you could be growing your money faster instead? One path builds security, the other builds potential wealth. But choosing the wrong one could cost you thousands. My name is Grady Cool, CEO of Cool Wealth Management. Today, we are breaking it all down with real numbers, real scenarios, and one key factor most people don't consider. Let's get into it.
I want to know, what is the highest return option? I want to make some money.
I hear you, Stevie. If we take a look at the mathematically optimal option for the highest possible return, then our biggest consideration is interest rates. Let's take a look at an example why. There are a lot of assumptions that go into this type of graph, so take all of this with a grain of salt. But this is what Stevie's mortgage would look like with a house for $400,000. Our net worth is growing over time, but a higher interest rate can destroy a lot of that. Now we can take a look to see what would happen if we increased our interest rate to 8% instead of 4%. Take a look at the y-axis. We lose almost $300,000 in net worth. That's a lot of money. Doesn't look like a lot in the chart, but man, I would like that amount. While the interest itself can make a big difference over the long run, whether we're putting money just into our house or whether we're instead putting into something like the stock market can also make a massive difference. If we assume that the stock market is averaging a return of 10% per year, this is what our net worth would look like over a 30-year time span if we were making minimum payments on our house while still at an 8% interest rate and investing the rest of our money into the stock market. This is significantly better with almost $1 million net worth difference by the time we're at the end of 30 years. We can take this even further, where if we're doing the investing into the stock market and we're down to a 4% interest rate, then by the end of 30 years, our net worth's up to almost $3.5 million.
Now that's more like it, baby.
One little cherry on top that I will include as well is that if you have a mortgage on your first home, there are a ton of tax advantages that come along with that, where you're in a situation where you are paying low interest, you have a mortgage on there, you're taking the rest of that money, investing it into the stock market, and you're using all the tax advantages is how you are maximizing your highest possible return. That being said, there is a lot of risk that comes along with only making the minimum payments on your mortgage while investing the rest into something else. There's not a one-size-fits-all for everyone's situation. How an investment fits into your specific life makes a massive difference for how effective it will be. Let's take a look at a few things that you should consider when you're thinking about whether you should make the minimum payments on your house or whether you should pay that thing off as quickly as you can. The biggest and most important aspect is the steadiness of your life situation. If you're in a job where you could potentially lose your job, and then have a hard time finding another job that pays similarly, then the risk of not being able to make the payments on your house becomes significantly more important. This is what I would call financial capacity. You have to be able to make your mortgage payments no matter what happens. If you have financial dependents like a wife and kids, then this becomes an even larger consideration. There are ways to plan around this, such as a large pile of cash or having things like life insurance or disability insurance, but still, it's not a situation we want to end up in, and we need to consider, can we hit our mortgage no matter what happens? In this situation, you're capable of making the payments no matter what happens. The next thing you need to consider is whether you feel comfortable having hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt hovering above your head for the next 30 years. The value of the house should cover the debt, assuming that you're not upside down on your mortgage, but it can still be uncomfortable. If you have bad memories around debt, or if you have a hard time controlling your spending habits and you're being 100% honest with yourself, then you may want to end up paying off your mortgage sooner rather than later. This tends to be a more conservative approach, but there's nothing wrong with that. Being consistent is the most important aspect in terms of long-term investing. The last big thing we need to consider is having your money tied up. Houses are not very liquid, especially when you're living in them. There are options to take equity out of your house in a situation where you really need the money using things like refinancing or a home equity line of credit, otherwise known as a HELOC. But you usually are going to lose money in terms of the transaction fees involved with that, which ends up eating into your annual returns for the year, which is really just not great. Something like stocks or bonds is a lot more liquid, assuming that it's not in a retirement account. All you have to do is pull out your phone and go click, 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 and all of a sudden, you got some money. With all those things in mind, what are the best options if you're not going to pay off your house immediately? For one, you can invest in yourself. The most common example is formal education such as college or university.
What about me? I don't need none of that phony baloney school stuff.
Well, Stevie, anything where you're investing money in order to eventually increase your income would count, whether that's getting licensed to plant trees, make sales, or cut hair. Anything where you can increase your income is a great way to eventually increase your total net worth, assuming that you're actually saving or investing that money. If we're just looking to put our money into an investment vehicle that'll increase our net worth over time, then something like retirement accounts can be a great way to save a lot of money on taxes over the long run. Which one fits best for your specific situation really depends on what's available through your employer, as well as what your income tax bracket is. But they're usually more tax friendly than something like a standard taxable investment account. That does raise the question of what exactly we should be investing into, assuming that we've decided to put our money into some sort of investment account. A lot of that comes down to things like risk tolerance, age, as well as overall capacity for risk in terms of what's coming in the door every month. That being said, general rule of thumb, if you want to be more aggressive, stocks can be a great driver of growth, whereas if you want to be more conservative, something like cash or bonds can really help build income into your portfolio. If you're not a big fan of those options, then there are other options available through the alternative world of investments with things like commodities, private equity, and hedge funds. I can't summarize the entirety of how to run a well-managed portfolio in this short little video, but I hope this gave you a better idea of whether you should be paying off your house immediately or choosing to invest the difference otherwise. If you have any sort of questions, please let me know down in the comments section. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.